Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. So thank you again for those who joined here. My name is Brett Boyd. I am the CEO of Knoema, and what I wanted to do today was to talk to you all a little bit about our enterprise product and just help you understand kind of what our business does here. So in general, most people who come to Knoema, again, we have a huge audience which we very much appreciate, are most familiar with Knoema.com. You know, we have some subscribers to our professional product, which lets professionals work with global data. These screens are probably most familiar to you as you go through kind of how you're able to work with the tools to build data sets and build dashboards and so on. But what most people aren't aware of is actually the core of our business is what we do for organizations. So we call this our enterprise product, but essentially what we do is we actually build data portals for organizations. These are purpose-built for each of our customers here. And the benefit of these portals here is what we do is we actually bring together client data, client subscription data, and the global data from Knoema's database that is most relevant to our clients together in a single purpose-built portal here that allows organizations, sometimes on the risk side, sometimes on the sales and opportunity side, sometimes on the supply side, and in the cases of investors on fund management and risk management side, we help organizations actually bring all of their data assets in one place and relate them to each other so they can run analysis and do different things with their data. That as us who have spent some time in this business understand is actually kind of difficult to do if you have to go through and export data from 6 different places and integrate your 3 different subscription partners and figure out how to get your own data out of Oracle or an ERP or whatever. So we build these portals for our clients, again, based on specific client objectives here. I'm sort of flashing through some screens just so you can get a feel for some of the different things. We're actually going to go back and walk through all of this in detail here in a sec. But this organization has been in business for a number of years here, and we've actually worked with clients across the spectrum of public institutions, of companies ranging from oil and gas to manufacturing to a variety of different consumer products type of companies, and a number of different categories here as well. And we've sort of come to basically a modular approach to this. So I'm going to actually walk through a demo portal. We invented this company here. Parallel is actually a fake pharmaceutical company that we made up here, really just to show kind of what's possible for a personalized data environment. What we behind the scenes of this is our product. It actually is a product. We deliver this over the cloud and actually sell it as an information product here. It almost looks like a drag and drop module builder. So as we talk through all of these things, again, we're trying to show the art of the possible here, and I would encourage you to think of each of these little aspects as different modules that we can configure in different ways for different clients. We have a number of different portals that look entirely different from this. But again, we built this to demonstrate the art of the possible. And so the scenario here is basically, this is again, a fake company here, but the idea is that this is run by, call it a market intelligence or a strategy shop. The logins, so then they have all of their different users within their organization. So all of the different customers within this company here would have an individual login, and if they wanted to have that limited to the strategy team, or if it wanted to go across all of the global business development teams, they could all have their individual logins here. So this would be personalized for everybody, and we can talk about how permissions and those things work. A lot of our clients will have whatever within their company manages the data portal. Will have a little call to action here, basically telling other users within their company, like, hey, here's where you are. This is what we have in here. In some cases, this help desk comes to Knoema. In some cases, this actually goes directly to an internal client team. You'll notice that this is not branded Knoema. We actually build these portals with the goal of making them feel like the fabric of our client's technology infrastructure. So this would be your brand, your logo, your font, your style guide, etc., which we would incorporate here. So as you come down here, you have the welcome to the portal, At the top, we'll actually dig into this in a sec, but you have quick links to all these different data sets, dashboards, which we'll walk through. You've got quick links there. Tools, we'll also hit this in detail, but these are some of the different tools that are part of the product. And subscriptions are a term, again, different organizations use different terms for this, but we actually bring together, again, our clients' data, Knoema's global data, which incorporates, again, the largest comprehensive global statistical database in the world with roughly 2.2 billion time series of data coming from 1,200 sources. I think we're at around 15,000 data sets right now that we update and we maintain. But for our subscription partners, we can actually bring in essentially any data in the world and layer this on here. So we have relationships with some other data providers to augment client portals. So as you come down here, again, not all organizations use the calendar function, but this is, again, an internal object here, where in some cases this is, hey, we're going to have a business development meeting where we're going to review different things, or these will be data releases or conferences or essentially whatever you want them to be. The mapping functionality, this is a tool of ours called the Geo Playground. And the way we've got this configured, and this is actually a very common implementation, is the idea of, look, when I think of data, I actually think of data as my environmentals for my business, right? So these are my demand drivers in many cases. And a lot of our clients like to say, you know, show me my facilities, like where are my people? Show me where I make my money. Again, in this case, we've got market share, quarterly sales of my fake pharmaceutical company, and show me that in context of my demand drivers. And again, we have a number of different use cases, and happy to discuss some of these in detail if anybody has specific questions about kind of who uses these tools and how they get used. But a very common one is the idea of, look, I have an understanding of the demand drivers for my business. You know, so let's say my demand drivers are part a subscription data that I buy for a third party. It's part looking at the demographic profile. It's part looking at cost of living and migration patterns. It's this combination of 5 or 10 different data fields. I want to look at those, and I want to look at the placement of my sales team, and I want to see where I'm making money in context of where my demand drivers tell me I should be successful. Right, and so we do have a lot of clients who use this to allocate resources on the sales and business development side, and to really coordinate the activities between country business teams that are spread throughout the world. Again, a mapping tool, essentially think of this as you could relate any data assets that you want, which again could be yours, could be your subscription partners that you currently have access to. And it could be, again, anything from Knoema's global statistical database. So down here, again, playing out our fake pharmaceutical company here. So we hang some reports that whoever manages this portal would potentially want their team to see. In some cases, this can be, internal things that internal analytics. It's essentially a document management module. And as I mentioned on the dashboards, we're going to look at those in a second, but these would be personalized for me based on my login and my permissions. So in the data here, again, Knoema has a lot of data, and we usually work through a process where we go and spend time with our clients and understand their goals and objectives and understand the data sets that they find most interesting, and we'll go through and we'll actually curate a very specific subset of data for them. And so in this case, I click by source. Again, personal would be my favorites, but we can organize these however you want. Again, selecting from either our catalog of the 15,000 data sets from 1,200 sources, or from your organization's catalog. But this would be a quick run into any of your data sets and a way to play with them, analyze them, and relate them to each other. So in this case, I don't know, I just picked, I guess we're looking at FDI for Australia, excuse me. So. And I decided we want to say, let's look at that against Japan and Korea, and let's look at it in some different format. This is part of the core dataset viewer that's available in our professional product as well, but it'll actually rank order the the visualization recommendations that are the best fit for the tool you're looking at. It's an amazing piece of functionality to visualize and manipulate. And again, I can take this this visualization that I just built, I can add this to my favorites, I can then build this into a dashboard, which we'll look at here in a sec. So dashboards here, we built this into the header, which is the case in a lot of organizations as an easy navigational tool. But these are essentially, I like to think of these as living reports or living charts here. So let's go in and look at some of our dashboards here. A dashboard would basically be a collection of visualizations that we would help you build. It's actually very easy. As I basically just built one as we were walking through this, looking at FDI or whatever that was in Australia here. But we have a team that spends a lot of time doing this. It's a self-serve tool here, but the purpose of this is that you can actually build the visualizations that you want to see to bring these data sets together, and they will just live forever. So these will automatically update forever. In this case, we did a market potential index, and let's say I want to look at Finland or something, and it's the tool is fast, etc. You can always take these visualizations and say, hey, I want to export this into Excel or or PowerPoint or whatever I want to do here. The use case that a lot of our clients appreciate and benefit from is the idea that says, look, I want to make a chart. I want to make a chart that shows me something interesting, and I just want that thing to update forever. And every time I need a new version of it, I want to go pull it down, or even have it embedded in a PowerPoint chart and have it live for have it live forever. So I don't have to go through this process of building my chart deck or whatever I need to every month. And again, these dashboards, this is again kind of one of the core components of how people use this. It looks very, very different in a lot of different organizations here, but I skimmed through these relatively quickly, not to again show you what am I looking at? The ease of doing business score in France versus the number of formal procedures and so on. This is a lot of IP protection stuff with which organizations in this industry or in pharmaceuticals spend a lot of time looking at. But all of these, you can look into this and be like, oh, okay, what the heck is the ease of doing business score? I want to go and let me go actually see what this is. I don't like how this is set up. I want to go see, okay, so this is World Bank. Here's how I get to the original data set. Here is some of the tag information that comes through, and let's say, okay, I want to look at this in a different way. I want to use this visualization. That wasn't a great choice. I want to use one of these other visualizations, and then I want to put this on. I'll resave this to my dashboard and so on, and I could pick countries if I wanted to limit this, or indicators, or so on. So these are dashboards, and again, there is a lot of what's possible here. What we had envisioned in this environment, and again, this is based on a lot of client experience, is the idea that this organization has some dashboards that show their global market trends, their specific market opportunities that they are most focused on. So if there are indicators around the South African market that they have been watching to see when signals a good time for them to go in or when it gets too risky, etc. We built some dashboards around a portfolio tracker to show the performance of their different business units in different regions. And then this last idea is a risk-oriented dashboard. Again, when we say, okay, there's like a risk tolerance, and this could be weather, could be physical security and crime, could be regulatory issues, could be competitive forces, etc., that drive business decisions on the risk side. So these are dashboards. The next part of this that I wanted to talk through here briefly are some of our tools, and these are basically analytic tools to enable different types of analysis. And again, in the case of organizations who are just using this to coordinate activities across international business teams or country teams, some of these tools get used a little bit less. But in the case of very nuanced and specific econometric planning, we have some organizations that use a lot of these modeling and simulation tools and so on. So custom maps is how you would build a version of the Geo Playground map that we saw on the homepage. For the purposes of time, we're not going to walk through specifically how each of these work, but we can absolutely go do that any of your convenience if you'd like to follow up here. The dashboard creator is how I would create those dashboards, again, those living reports which can be exported, etc. The presentation builder is a way that you can actually build a presentation that lives, and you can present whatever your charts are or whatever your analysis is. You can present it directly out of Knoema. The scenario planning tool is it's kind of an interesting modeling tool, and this is a relatively specific application. So again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but the idea here is that we work with our clients to build models, and a lot of clients actually have models where they understand market performance and they understand how their business operates in context of other different drivers. And so what the purpose of this really is to actually model some of these in real time. So this idea is that there is a complex model behind here that relates different indicators towards different forecasted outcomes. Again, this is just a health model that we had been playing around with. We can look at the outputs of that in a table format if we'd like, but really the purpose is to take a model and automate it. And so the ones that I've spent a decent amount of time playing with are around energy forecasting. You tend to go in these meetings and you have specific plans and projections that are based on oil price or whatever, and this tool allows you to actually in real time have built a model, and if you have a disagreement in the room around specifically what the price of oil or whatever is going to be, you can say, okay, well, let's say, I guess in this case what I'm looking, if everybody dies young, what happens here to health expenditure as a percentage of GDP? And in real time you can see how that changes, and you can keep playing with these and have different projections and so on. But this is a real-time scenario planning tool. The next piece that I wanted to show is actually I have a pre-built one, is an index builder. And this is another area that a lot of clients use, right? The idea of creating an index to say, what are attractive markets to me, right? And so we have a formula here that says an attractive market to us or this fake pharmaceutical company, again here, is a function of health expenditure, population, GDP per growth, etc. And we have a different formula here for what that is. That's again something that we can work with you to create, or if you have a view. A lot of organizations actually have a view on this, and we can go through and actually look at how each of these variables is projected or has occurred, and we can look at the index value here. And again, you see a lot of these, and I can change. I want to look at Argentina, or I want to look at and this just again recalculates this on the fly for whatever your index model here is. I don't know if we're going to get much for Cameroon here, but anyway, so this is a way, and then we have a lot of clients who will then reflect this on the map, right? So that would be the basis of the color codes on the map, where I'd see, okay, like where am I making money in context of what does my market potential look like in different areas. And the last tool here is our tool we call Fact Finder, and this speaks a little bit to kind of the future of Knoema and where we're going. Essentially, we view that we have basically the reference database for the world. We have essentially every public statistic that we can find, or that our clients have directed us here to over the past 7 years of being in business and working with some of the most sophisticated organizations in the world here. And on the natural language processing and machine learning front, we have a whole team dedicated to building out algorithms that can help contextualize your work with related data. We're actually trying to change the paradigm of engagement with data to the idea that right now you have to go search for data, and you have to search for it in multiple different areas. And at its core, this business was created to solve that problem of bringing disparate data sets together so that they can become useful in an integrated environment. The next step that we are very excited about is the idea that we can just bring data into your workflow as you work, right? So what this tool is we built in, this is essentially an analyst workflow tool where you could type your report in and hit enter. And what this would do is it would actually search our database, and it would look at every statistic that's referenced in your report, and it would show you if you are correct or if you are incorrect. It would also visualize this, and it would show you related indicators. Right? So imagine you're typing, you're an analyst, or you've typed a report like the case I did, and I pasted it in here, and I could go see, okay, what are my country references in here if I wanted to go by country reference? If I wanted to go by topic, what are my topic references here? Or if I literally wanted to have it say, okay, did I get, where did I do Russian Federation exports? Could I have picked a different value? And again, it had the source information here. If there were multiple sources for that in the data set that we had indexed to this, it would show you multiple sources, and you can actually pick and say, I don't actually want the World Bank value. I want Russian exports as reported by Russia or as reported by a different international body. So this is our fact finder tool that again, to repeat, these last three tools are not in every portal. The top three are, but the last three are basically different clients and different use cases need them in different ways. And this last piece again is this is we call this subscriptions in this instance. This is in different, this is called different things in different places, but we actually have some partners who have proprietary data sets that we think are wonderful, and we can bring those data sets into our client portals, right? So if you had a portal, we've integrated our data together, you had a useful environment where you said, look, this is a great tool for me. I'm able to do all of these different things that I want to do, but I want to get more specific around Chinese industrial data. This is an example here where we have a partnership with an organization. We could basically bring all of this data from that organization into your portal. And so there would be one page where you could just deep dive into the data if you wanted, but most importantly, it would reflect through all of your data sets and all of your different dashboards and indicators and all of these different things. So at its core, this is our, these are, again, I would consider these as modules. We have plenty of portals where you log in and it's directly, the North Africa business unit versus the Middle East business unit versus the European business unit, and you can click into their indicators. In other of those, you have views where you have different industries or different product teams, and you have data on different product teams. And again, in some other instances, it is purely kind of a planning and analytic tool. In a lot of industries, we have found that all of the major competitors in many cases are actually working with the same data sets. But the way to create a competitive advantage in an environment like that is to glean better insights or cultivate better insights from those same sets of data. So we do a lot of advanced analytics and modeling with organizations to help, look, we have all of these data assets. Data is everywhere. How do we take that data and get strategic with it and make better strategic decisions as a result of that? So, again, this is the portal. I'm going to flip through to a couple of other screens here and talk a little bit right now on data coverage. This is a question that we commonly get is around, look, you said you guys have a lot of data, but what does that mean to me? And it's actually it's a difficult question to answer because data means that, like, the important data is different for different organizations. So we put together, and I'm happy to send this out if anybody would like to explore this in detail, but we put together some of kind of our most frequently used data sets. But again, the general process for how we would onboard a new client is we understand your objectives. We go through the sales process and into the implementation team, and we would actually do some work with the client and with our account management team to curate the specific data sets that your organization finds most useful and most productive. And we would actually build into our process here the idea that says if there are data sets that you want that we don't directly have access to, we actually build in budgets to go get those data sets for you. There's actually a data acquisition piece, and if you think about how this business has developed, we started as a kind of econometric, macroeconomic oriented organization and have gotten very, very deep in a lot of different sectors, but really as a result of our clients telling us where to go, which has been kind of fun. So we benefit a lot from clients' goals around data coverage and so on. And so The process of building one of these portals, again, it is certainly personalized and custom to your organization. But at the end of the day, this is an information product, and that allows us to sell it much more cheaply than if it were a custom software build. And behind the scenes of this, and again, where we're going is that it's almost a modular drag and drop software builder type environment. If you're familiar with those, again, right now we would do that for you and say, hey, here's some designs, pick what you like, and we'd work through that process. It again takes us between 6 and 8 weeks. With most clients, but it's really only 2 weeks or so of data engineering and setup time on our end. I'm flipping through some of these other dashboards here quickly before I pause and take questions, really just to demonstrate the art of what's possible around some of these different dashboards, right? So this is oil production by country. Again, we can even write some initial analysis or observation. This could be permissioned internal to your whole organization. If you had, say, R&D plus sales plus strategy or whatever inside your portal, it could be permissioned towards groups of users. But this is an example of bringing together, there are probably 15 different data sets that flow into this. I don't know, so that's one on an industry, South African economics. So this is like a country-specific analytic view. Again, this will just automatically update forever. And based on our team's work, connecting through and updating based on global data, which, just to be clear here, that is a huge core competency of Knoema. We have a whole team that's purely dedicated towards integrating into all of these different sources and so on. And a lot of the more developed markets have easier to acquire data sets, but frankly most of the world doesn't, and it's actually a significant exercise here to go to all these national statistics pages, go to these different data vendors, work with them to develop ways to bring their data into our environment and so on. I feel like I keep clicking on things that are related to oil here. There's aluminum, here we go, something that's not in the energy market. So anyways, again, just to give you a sense for what some of these different dashboards look like, which we would work with you all to help set up. So this in general, again, there are a lot of different implementations and manifestations of this. We have a lot of experience working with the most sophisticated organizations in the world on both the private company, the investor, and the public sector side. And again, that's part of the value of what we bring here, is just that understanding of how to effectively work and integrate multiple disparate sets of data into a coherent view that can be useful for strategy and planning and effective decision making. And so, again, that's part of the value that we bring to our clients. And having said that, I am going to slow down now, and I'm going to look at any questions that we have to answer. Okay, well, there's a lot of questions around specifically like what types of data sets and so on, and like what data we have access to. And again, where I've got a lot of tabs open now. So, again, we put this together to just show a general snapshot here, but it's almost easier to talk on a one-on-one basis and understand who you are and where you're coming from, to say, look, these are the basket of indicators that we think are going to be most useful for you based on our experience with your organization and with other clients, right? And so we really have integrated all of the available public data in the world. And if you're aware of data sets that we do not have integrated already, we would just go ahead and integrate them before we launched your portal. That's a thing we spent a lot of time on. And so I would think about this again as the public data and kind of the semi-public data, or the difficult to achieve data that international agencies and countries and statistical offices publish. I would then augment that by any data sets that you currently subscribe to, right? Like, what does your organization use, and what do you find most beneficial here? And in some of those, again, if you've already paid for data from from your subscription provider here, and I don't actually want to stipulate and guess some of the providers here, but a lot of that we would actually go ahead and integrate that. You've already paid for it. It would just be a different use of that data here. And when I talked about the subscription area within our portal, where we're going here is we're actually working with our clients to find their coverage gaps and really develop relationships with proprietary data providers that allow them to bring their data into our environment and layer that across all of our clients. And so we always love that when clients come in and they say, hey, I haven't bought data from X, but I actually would like to. Could you go talk to them and see if an integration is possible? At which point we would do that. Okay, next question here is around sharing of dashboards and permissions and how in collaboration within the tool and so on. And so specifically around publication, or excuse me, around permissions of dashboards here. So again, my name is Brett Boyd. This is the BB here. So this is my login, right? And so I have my favorites that I can get to. I have my preferences, etc. And within the admin of this, you could set up different user groups within a client portal. And we have some clients that have like on the order of 10 to 20 different logins in their organizations, where they really just want to use this as a planning tool and it's kind of specific to the analysts. But we have other organizations that have 20,000 logins because they want their whole organization to benefit from this data, and we will we'll actually integrate with their company's single sign-on or however they do it, so you can have one password across all of your different organizational tools. And so when you build a dashboard, you can share it with specific people. So if me and a colleague were building a view on, I keep ending up in kind of an interesting data here on IP protection stuff. But if we were working on this and we wanted to collaborate, I could just share this with her, with that analyst, and we could work together on it. Or if I had built this and I want only the sales team but not the R&D team to see this, or if I want the whole organization to do this, you could share accordingly. And we also have some environments where our clients will share research that they publish inside this tool, that they build inside Knoema. They'll want to share that with their clients, and that's all possible as well. We see that a lot in consulting and financial research. Another piece here to talk about also is just to be clear on export and so on. And again, you have the choice of exporting just raw data, of exporting an image, of exporting a PowerPoint chart that, again, either static images or live images and so on. And as you go through this, there are actually selections where, hey, I want to have all the source information also be part of what I export, or I don't. We're actually exploring having these integrated with your organization's PowerPoint templates and so on, which would provide some additional personalization. And again, our goal in this is to really be an invisible tool set here to enable our clients to do what they want to do. Okay, another question here. Sorry, I'm just trying to click through a couple of the data set viewer here and just kind of poke around so you can see how this works a little bit while I talk. Another question here was around security and permissions and kind of how this works mechanically. And so again, this is an information product that's delivered over the cloud, right? So these are hosted on AWS. We do have some cases where we have on-premise application versions of this for clients. Usually when they have internal policies that says, look, we can't have companies' proprietary data in the cloud, although we've seen a big migration towards allowing that workflow here in the last 2 or 3 years. But so most of these sit on the cloud, again, integrated into your environment. We have enterprise level security, and as you would expect, and we're happy to talk through that with any customers on I guess an as needed basis here. If anybody has any specific questions around kind of how that works, and we've been audited by a number of clients and had penetration testing and those kinds of things. So but we are happy to work through that with you, and we understand that again, the complexities of working with proprietary client data. And just on that note, it is worth saying out loud that some organizations have I guess there are just different levels of proprietary data in different organizations that we have in the tool, right? Like in some cases they say, look, I don't actually want to go down the path of having my most important data in here. I want to have, but I do want to see my revenue distribution against all these indicators. So I'm a publicly traded company. Why don't you just pull public data out of my 10K from, a quarter in arrears, and we can look at that and use that in our portal. In other cases, you have the situation where there are these complex spreadsheet models, and these really represent the actual intellectual property of these organizations from a strategy and planning perspective around demand drivers and so on. And they actually realize the benefit of saying, hey, look, doing this in a spreadsheet that only a couple people actually know how to use is maybe not a best practice, and so they want to actually put some of their most important models and tools in our portal. So I guess we have both ends of the spectrum. I guess the root point behind my comment is just to say we, being in this data management business and working with important organizations, we have a lot of experience with security, and are very, very comfortable talking through that on an as needed basis. Okay, I think that's I think that is the last question here. And again, I would just encourage you that this is, it's complicated, and it means something different for everyone. This whole idea of like, what is an integrated data environment, and why do I care, and what does that do for me? And I would just encourage you to please reach out to me or to our team here. We would love to talk you through this and just help brainstorm a little bit on where and how we think we can be helpful based on specifically what your organization is trying to achieve here. So please do reach out to us. We'd love to talk with you in more detail here. Again, we have built a price structure and kind of a business model that we are very comfortable we can deliver a custom environment at significantly less than a cost of an analyst here, so at a very reasonable cost here. So we'd love to talk you through that in detail. And again, these obviously vary in size and complexity based on different types of organizations that we work with here. So this isn't necessarily one size fits all, but we have done this a lot, and anyways, are very excited about and proud of a lot of the different things that we have been able to build for our clients, and would love to show some of those off with you. So having said that, again, my name is Brett Boyd. My email is brett@knoema.com. Feel free to shoot me a note. I think we'll probably send a recording of this out with the button or something like that you can follow up on. So please feel free to click that and reach out to us anytime. And look, we really do appreciate your time and your participation and just your interest in Knoema. This is a great business. We're excited to share it with you. Thank you very much.